Deep in space, far beyond Earth, a quiet signal traveled through the dark. It was not a normal message. It was a cry for help, a loud, urgent call from an unknown alien world. The signal was strange and filled with fear. No one on Earth had ever heard anything like it before. At the International Space Command Center, scientists and officers stared at the glowing screens. The message kept repeating, stronger and clearer each time. The lead scientist, Dr. Sarah Malik, studied the data carefully. "This is not just a random signal," she said softly. "It is a clear distress call. Someone is in trouble, and they want help." The room grew silent. Everyone waited for the next words. "Where is this signal coming from?" asked Commander Blake, the man in charge of Earth's space defense. Sarah pointed at the map. "It's from a star system called Zeta 9, about 120 light-years away. We have never had any contact with them before." Commander Blake frowned. "So, an unknown alien civilization is asking for help? This could be dangerous." Meanwhile, on Earth, news of the signal spread quickly. People were curious and afraid. What kind of danger did the aliens face? Was it a trap? Could Earth help without risking its own safety? The government held an emergency meeting. Some leaders wanted to ignore the signal and stay safe. Others believed that answering the call was the right thing to do. After hours of debate, the decision was made. Earth would send a fleet to investigate. The fleet was small but strong. The best human ships and crews prepared for the long journey. Commander Blake was chosen to lead the mission. He was a calm and skilled leader, but even he felt a deep tension inside. "We don't know what's waiting for us," he told his team. "This could be a chance to make new friends, or a fight for survival." Days passed. The ships left Earth's orbit and entered deep space. The crew watched the stars carefully, hoping to find the source of the SOS. But the silence of space was heavy, and no one spoke much. Everyone knew this mission could change everything. On the ship Star Guardian, Lieutenant Mia Chen sat at her station. She monitored all signals and data, looking for any new clues. Suddenly, her screen flashed red. "Commander, I am detecting an unusual energy signature near the SOS source," she said. Blake looked at the screen. "What kind of energy?" "It's powerful, but strange. Not like anything we have seen. It feels hostile." "Stay alert," Blake ordered. "We may not be alone." As they got closer, the SOS signal grew louder. It was no longer just a weak call. It was a desperate scream. The voice behind the message was full of fear and warning. Then the fleet entered the Zeta 9 system. They saw a blue and green planet, covered with strange forests and deep oceans. But something was wrong. The planet's atmosphere flickered with bursts of energy. The sensors picked up strange movements on the surface, large machines and unknown ships. Suddenly, from the dark edges of the system, huge warships appeared. They were black and covered with spikes and weapons, fearsome ships of the Deathworlders. The Deathworlders were a legend, the most ruthless and dangerous species known to humans. Their warships were feared across many galaxies. The human fleet froze. The Deathworlder fleet was massive, much larger and stronger than Earth's ships. Why were they here? Commander Blake's radio crackled. "Attention all ships, we have an unknown fleet approaching. Prepare for possible battle." The Deathworlder ships did not attack immediately. Instead, they sent a message. The voice was deep and cold. "Humans, you are not welcome here. Leave the system now or face destruction." Blake replied firmly. "We come in peace. We answer the SOS. We want to help." There was silence for a moment. Then the Deathworlder leader spoke again. "This SOS is a warning, not a plea for help. Leave or be destroyed." The tension was unbearable. The human ships prepared for battle, but no one wanted to fight, at least not yet. Back on Earth, news of the Deathworlder fleet spread like wildfire. People were scared. The Deathworlders were deadly warriors. Could humans survive their wrath? On the Star Guardian, Blake made a difficult decision. "We must find the source of the SOS on the planet and understand what is really happening. This signal is a warning for everyone in this system." Lieutenant Mia Chen nodded. I will prepare a team for the surface mission. The small team landed on the planet's surface. The air was thick and heavy. Strange plants moved in the wind and distant roars echoed from the forests. The SOS signal came from a ruined city. Buildings were broken and machines lay silent. It was clear a great war had happened here. The team found strange symbols carved into walls, messages written in an unknown language. The SOS was not just a call for help. It was a warning about a much greater danger. Suddenly the ground shook. The team looked up to see huge, shadowy figures moving in the forest. Something was coming. Back in space, the Deathworlder fleet tightened, their formation ready for war. The SOS had triggered a full deployment of their forces. The fate of Earth, the alien planet, and the galaxy now hung in a delicate balance. Commander Blake spoke quietly to his team. We answered the call. Now, we must be ready for anything. This is just the beginning. The human fleet drifted through the cold darkness of space, moving closer to the mysterious planet Zeta 9. Commander Blake watched the stars outside the bridge window. His mind was heavy with questions. Why did the alien SOS call for help trigger the sudden arrival of the Deathworlders? What was really waiting for them in that distant system? Suddenly, the quiet of space was broken. On the sensors, huge shapes appeared, massive warships rising from the dark edges of the system. The Deathworlders had arrived in full force. The Deathworlders were not just any enemy. They were the most feared race known to the galaxy. They were called Deathworlders because their home planets were brutal, deadly places, and their warriors were the fiercest fighters anyone had ever faced. Stories of their power and cruelty traveled far and wide, making them the nightmare of many space civilizations. Commander Blake's heart beat faster, but his voice stayed steady. All ships, battle stations, prepare for engagement. The human fleet activated their shields and weapons. Even though they were outnumbered and outgunned, Earth's soldiers did not back down. They had to protect their mission and their home. The Deathworlder warships closed in like predators. Their black hulls gleamed with sharp spikes and terrifying weaponry. Their captain sent a message through the radio, cold and sharp. Humans, you have entered forbidden space. Leave now, or be destroyed. Blake's voice was calm but firm. We are here because of an SOS signal. We want to understand and help. There was a long silence. Then the Deathworlder captain laughed, a deep, cruel sound that shook the ship's speakers. Help? The SOS was a trap. You're walking into a war. The tension on the human fleet grew heavy. Everyone waited, expecting the Deathworlders to attack at any moment. But instead of firing, the Deathworlders did something unexpected. They sent a small group of ships toward the planet's surface. It was a warning or a challenge. Commander Blake made a quick decision. We will also send a landing team to find out what is going on. Stay alert. Lieutenant Mia Chen prepared her team. Their mission was dangerous but necessary. They had to discover the truth behind the SOS. As the landing ships approached the planet, the Deathworlder ships formed a ring around the system, watching every move carefully. The humans felt the pressure of being watched by deadly eyes. The landing team touched down near the ruins of the alien city. The silence of the planet was eerie. Strange plants moved in the wind, but no animals or signs of life appeared. The ruins told a story of sudden destruction, buildings torn apart, machines broken and scorched earth. The team moved cautiously. Suddenly, Lieutenant Chen noticed strange markings on the walls. They were symbols, unlike any language humans knew. They glowed faintly with a strange light. Commander, these markings look like a warning, Chen said over the radio. We should try to decode them. The team worked quickly. The message was a desperate cry from the aliens who once lived here. It told of a great threat, a powerful enemy that destroyed their world and sent the SOS to warn others. Back in space, the Deathworlders waited. Their leader, a tall armored warrior named General Karath, watched the human fleet with cold eyes. These humans are reckless, he said. They do not understand the danger. They may bring destruction to themselves and others. His voice was filled with both anger and respect. The Deathworlders knew humans were strong fighters. but they feared what the SOS warned about. On the planet, the human landing team felt the weight of their discovery. The SOS was no simple call for help. It was a warning of a greater war, a war that could destroy entire worlds. Suddenly, a loud roar echoed from the dark forest nearby. The team turned to see huge, shadowy figures moving fast through the trees. Strange creatures unlike anything humans had seen before. "Prepare for contact," Lieutenant Chen shouted. The creatures charged with terrifying speed and strength. The team fought bravely with their weapons, but the battle was fierce. The creatures were deadly and well organized. Just as the fight seemed impossible, a new sound arrived. From the sky, the Deathworlder ships fired powerful energy blasts, scattering the creatures. Commander Blake watched this from the Star Guardian bridge. "Why are the Deathworlders helping us fight these creatures?" he asked. His second-in-command, Captain Reyes, frowned. "Maybe these creatures are the true enemy. The SOS was to warn us all. We are caught in a war bigger than we thought." Battle on the planet grew worse. The strange creatures kept coming, attacking both humans and Deathworlders. It became clear this was no ordinary war. It was a fight for survival against an enemy that wanted to destroy everything. Back on the human ships, the fleet tried to hold position. The Deathworlders stayed close, watching and fighting side by side with humans against the strange enemy. Commander Blake spoke to his crew. "We must learn to trust each other or we will all be destroyed." The SOS was just the beginning. The humans realized they were not alone. The Deathworlders' arrival was not just about war, it was about survival and an uneasy alliance. Far from Earth, the galaxy was waking to a new threat. The SOS had pulled humans into a dangerous game where enemies might become allies, and survival depended on strength and trust. As the fleet prepared for the next fight, the mystery of the SOS deepened. Who sent the call? What was the true enemy? And how far would humans go to protect their home? The air on the planet was thick and heavy, almost like it was holding its breath. The human landing team moved carefully through the broken city ruins. Lieutenant Mia Chen led the way, her eyes sharp and alert. Every step felt heavier as they searched for answers beneath the shattered buildings and twisted metal. Commander Blake watched from the Star Guardian, communicating with the team below. "Report any findings immediately. We need to know what we're dealing with." The ruins were strange, like no city humans had ever seen. Tall towers made of dark metal reached up to the sky, many broken and fallen. The streets were cracked and covered in strange vines that seemed to pulse with faint blue light. The silence was eerie, broken only by the distant rumble of thunder. Lieutenant Chen stopped near a large stone wall. She pointed to symbols carved deep into the surface, strange shapes that glowed softly in the dark. "These markings look like a language, but it's different from any alien code we know." One of the team's linguists, Dr. Patel, moved closer, examining the symbols with his handheld scanner. "I think these are warnings," he said. "Warnings about something dangerous, something that destroyed this world." Suddenly the ground trembled beneath their feet. The team froze. From the forest edge, deep growls and roars echoed closer and closer. The strange creatures from before were returning, but this time they were not alone. Dark shadows moved swiftly among the trees, larger, faster, and more terrifying. Their eyes glowed red and their bodies were covered with sharp scales. These were the true predators of this world. Lieutenant Chen raised her rifle, signaling the team to prepare for battle. "We can't stay here long. We need to find the SOS source, and fast." As the creatures charged, a sudden flash lit the sky. Energy blasts from human and Deathworlder weapons cut through the air, pushing the attackers back. The Deathworlder warriors with their fierce armor and powerful weapons fought alongside the humans. After the battle, the team moved deeper into the city ruins. They came to a huge underground entrance hidden beneath rubble. It looked ancient, like a secret bunker or a prison. Commander Blake's voice came through the radio. "That must be where the SOS signal is coming from. You need to get inside." The team cleared the entrance and moved carefully into the dark tunnels below. The air was colder here, and their footsteps echoed on the metal floor. Inside, the walls were covered with more symbols and strange machines that blinked with fading lights. In the center of the room, a large crystal pulsed softly. This crystal was the source of the SOS signal. Dr. Patel approached the crystal and touched it gently. Suddenly, images flashed before their eyes, visions of the alien world's past. They saw a peaceful civilization, advanced and thriving. But then a dark shadow appeared, an enormous alien army, unlike the Deathworlders or humans, filled with monstrous creatures. This enemy attacked without mercy, destroying cities and killing millions. The aliens had fought back, but the enemy was too strong. The survivors sent out the SOS signal through the crystal, hoping for help from any who could hear. Lieutenant Chen's voice was filled with shock. "This is bigger than we thought. The SOS was a warning about a dangerous enemy, a threat to the whole galaxy." Suddenly, the crystal began to glow brighter. A hidden door slid open, revealing a dark corridor. The team moved inside, discovering a room filled with maps and star charts. These maps showed the enemy's path, spreading across systems, destroying everything in their way. Commander Blake realized the truth. The Deathworlders came because they know this enemy. They don't want it near their territory, and now it's close to us too. The team downloaded all the data they could and prepared to return to their ships. But as they moved toward the exit, a loud explosion shook the tunnels. The strange enemy had found them. Dark creatures poured into the corridor, forcing the team into a desperate fight. Lieutenant Chen's team used everything they had: blasters, grenades, and thinking, but the enemy was relentless. Back in orbit, the human fleet and Deathworlder warships saw the explosion on their scanners. Commander Blake knew time was running out. "We have to get them out. Now," he ordered. The landing team fought there, way to the surface, wounded but alive. As their ship lifted off, the enemy creatures chased them, claws tearing at the air. Once safely aboard the Star Guardian, the team shared the data with Commander Blake and the Deathworlder leaders. General Karath, the Deathworlder commander, studied the star charts and nodded grimly. "This enemy will destroy anything in its path. Our fleets have fought them for centuries." Blake asked, "Why did the aliens send the SOS now? Are they the last survivors?" Karath replied, "Yes. They sent the signal hoping someone would answer before it was too late. We are all in danger." The room grew quiet as the weight of their situation sank in. The SOS had not just called for help. It had triggered a chain of events that could change the fate of the galaxy. Humans, Deathworlders, and the last survivors of the destroyed alien race now faced a terrifying enemy, one that could end them all. Commander Blake looked at his crew. "We answered the call. Now we must prepare to fight, not just for this planet, but for the future of all life." The question remained, could these very different species work together? Or would fear and distrust tear them apart before the real war began? Outside, the stars shone cold and distant, hiding dangers no one could yet see. The quiet hum of the Star Guardian filled the command room as Commander Blake stared at the star charts before him. Around the table sat the most unlikely group of allies: humans, Deathworlders, and the last survivors of the destroyed alien race, the ones who had sent the SOS in the first place. The weight of the galaxy's fate rested heavily on their shoulders. General Karath, the towering Deathworlder warrior, broke the silence. "We cannot fight this enemy alone. Your people, humans, are strong and clever, but your ships and weapons are still new to galactic war." Blake nodded slowly. "We don't want to fight alone. That's why we're here. But trust is hard when we just met, and you sent us a warning, not a welcome." The alien survivors looked tired and wary. Their leader, a tall figure named Lyra, spoke with quiet strength. "We needed help before it was too late. We sent the SOS hoping someone would hear. The Deathworlders arrived first and are the most powerful fighters we know, but trust is fragile." The room grew tense. Old fears and old wounds ran deep. Despite the tension, a plan had to form. The enemy, the monstrous creatures who had destroyed Lyra's homeworld, were advancing fast. They moved through star systems like a dark storm, destroying everything. We need to combine our strengths, Blake said firmly. Humans bring new technology and creativity. Deathworlders bring experience and raw power. And your knowledge of this enemy is the key to survival. Lyra nodded. Our people fought them for centuries. We know their weaknesses, their patterns, but we are few. We need your fleets to stop the advance. The alliance was uneasy. The Deathworlders were proud and fierce. Humans were cautious and hopeful. The aliens were desperate but wise. For the first time, they shared detailed intelligence about the enemy's attacks. The creatures were fast and brutal, able to adapt quickly. They used dark energy weapons that could disable shields and corrupt. Systems Blake's crew worked quickly, using the alien data to improve their ship's defenses. The Deathworlders tested new tactics, mixing their brutal combat style with human technology. But the greatest challenge was trust. Every day, small arguments broke out. The Deathworlders accused humans of weakness. Humans feared the Deathworlders' cruelty. The alien survivors feared both might abandon them. During a tense meeting, General Karath slammed his fist on the table. We cannot afford doubt. This enemy kills without mercy. If we hesitate, we die. Blake stood, calm but firm. I understand your anger. But we cannot fight if we tear each other apart. We must find a way to work as one. Lyra's voice was soft but clear. We all want to live. Let this fear be the fire that burns away our mistrust. The uneasy alliance slowly began to build. Training exercises brought the teams closer. Humans learned to fight with Deathworlder weapons. Deathworlders adapted to human ship designs. The alien survivors taught them how to read enemy movements. Then, an urgent warning came from the front lines. Sensors detected a massive enemy force moving toward a nearby star system, a system full of innocent colonies. The creatures planned to strike soon, wiping out thousands of lives. Blake's heart sank. We cannot let them destroy more worlds. The Alliance decided to act. A combined fleet, with humans, Deathworlders, and alien ships, would intercept the enemy. The Star Guardian led the way, moving fast through the star lanes. The crew prepared for battle, their faces tense but determined. As they neared the enemy's path, Blake gathered his officers. This fight will be our first test together. We must protect those who cannot protect themselves. The enemy force appeared on the sensors like a black storm, thousands of ships and creatures swarming in deadly formation. The battle was about to begin. The Star Guardian fired the first shots. Energy beams cut through space, lighting up the darkness with explosions. The Deathworlders roared their battle cries, rushing into the fight with fierce power. The alien survivors used their knowledge to predict enemy moves, guiding the fleet with precision. Humans worked their new weapons and tactics, surprising the enemy with clever traps and quick strikes. But the enemy was stronger than anyone expected. They adapted fast, breaking through shields and disabling weapons. The battle raged for hours. Ships were lost. Crews were hurt. The Alliance was tested to its limits. At one point, the Star Guardian took a direct hit. Alarms blared, fires broke out. The crew worked quickly to save their ship and each other. Commander Blake refused to give up. Hold the line. We fight together or we fall alone. Slowly, the tide began to turn. The combined forces pushed the enemy back, using every strength they had. Finally, the enemy retreated into the dark void, broken but not defeated. The fleet was battered but victorious. The Alliance had survived its first battle. In the quiet after the fight, Blake looked around at his crew and allies. This is only the beginning, he said. We have shown we can fight together. Now we must build on that trust. The real war is still ahead. General Karath nodded, his fierce eyes softer now. You are stronger than I thought, human. Together we may stand a chance. Lyra added, the SOS has brought us here. It may save the galaxy. As the fleet prepared to move on, the stars seemed less cold, less distant. For the first time, hope glimmered in the dark. After the hard-fought battle, the combined fleet rested in a nearby star system. The Star Guardian floated silently among the other ships, humans, Deathworlders, and the alien survivors side by side. The mood was cautious, but hopeful. They had won a small victory, but the war was far from over. Commander Blake stood on the bridge watching the blinking stars and distant suns. The silence felt heavy. The battle had shown how strong their alliance could be, but it had also revealed cracks. The crew worked hard, repairing damage and preparing for the next fight. Still, Blake sensed something was wrong. Small mistakes were happening. Systems failing, weapons misfiring, and strange data glitches on the ships. Blake called a meeting with his closest officers. "We need to find the cause. These errors could cost us lives." Lieutenant Chen nodded. "I've noticed strange activity in the communication systems. Someone might be trying to sabotage us." The room grew tense. Sabotage was a dangerous word in a war where trust was already fragile. Captain Reyes frowned. "Who would do that? We all want to survive." Blake's voice was firm. "We don't know yet, but we have to act fast." They began an investigation. Engineers and hackers worked to trace the source of the disruptions. Security teams tightened patrols. Everyone was on edge. Meanwhile, tensions between humans and Deathworlders simmered beneath the surface. Old rivalries and mistrust made it easier for fear to grow. One night, Blake received a secret message. It came from a hidden sensor on the edge of the fleet. The signal showed a small, cloaked ship moving between the ships, sending encrypted messages. Blake showed the message to General Karath and Lyra. "Someone is spying on us, maybe working for the enemy." Karath's eyes narrowed. "This could mean betrayal inside the fleet," Lyra added, "or someone trying to weaken our fragile alliance." The leaders agreed to hunt down the spy ship. Patrols increased, scanning every corner of the fleet. After days of searching, they found the cloaked ship hiding near a supply vessel. The humans and Deathworlders worked together to trap it. When the boarding party entered the small ship, they found an alien agent, a creature neither human nor Deathworlder. The agent had advanced tech and carried secret data files. Lieutenant Chen interrogated the prisoner. "Who sent you? What is your mission?" The agent sneered. "I serve the enemy you all fear. I was sent to weaken you from within." The fleet leaders realized the danger was greater than they thought. The enemy was not just outside the fleet. It had spies inside trying to tear them apart. Blake gathered his commanders. "We have enemies in our midst. We must root them out before they destroy us from within." The Alliance tightened security. Every ship was searched. Every crew member questioned. Paranoia grew, and old suspicions flared. Some Deathworlders accused humans of hiding secrets. Some humans feared the ruthless Deathworlders might betray them. The alien survivors watched silently, warning of deeper dangers. Meanwhile, strange attacks began again. Small ships were destroyed by unknown forces. Communications were jammed. It became clear the enemy was using sabotage and fear as weapons. One night, the Star Guardian was hit by a sudden power surge. Alarms blared. The bridge went dark for a moment before emergency lights flickered on. Blake rushed to the control panel. "What happened?" Engineer Collins replied. "Someone hacked our systems. They tried to crash our ship." The attack failed, but the message was clear. The enemy was closer than ever. The crew worked day and night to fix the damage. But the question remained. Who was behind the sabotage? Could they trust anyone? Blake knew this was the most dangerous part of war. The enemy was not just a force to fight, it was a shadow creeping into their own ranks. As the fleet prepared to move on, Blake gathered the leaders again. "We must stay strong, together. Trust is our only weapon against fear and betrayal," General Karath grunted. "Deathworlders fight with strength, but even we must learn to fight with trust," Lyra said quietly. "The SOS warned us of a great enemy. It did not warn us of the shadows among us. But we will survive if we do not let fear destroy us first." The stars outside the Star Guardian seemed colder than before. The war was far from over, and the greatest battle might be within their own hearts. The fleet moved slowly through the cold darkness of space. Every ship was on high alert, Commander Blake stood on the bridge of the Star Guardian, eyes fixed on the sensor screens. The shadows in the fleet had been discovered, but the question remained. Who was the real enemy behind the attacks? For days, the prisoner had refused to speak. The alien agent captured in Part 5 stayed silent, watching the crew with cold, dark eyes. Lieutenant Chen had tried every tactic to break the silence, but the agent remained stubborn. Then, unexpectedly, the agent spoke. His voice was low and rough. "You do not know the true danger," he said. "You face an enemy beyond your understanding." Blake and the others leaned forward, listening closely. The agent revealed the name of the enemy. The Vrath, a species so old and deadly that entire star systems had vanished from their path. They were neither human, Deathworlder, nor the alien survivors. The Wraith were creatures of darkness and destruction. They fed on energy and life itself. Lyra's eyes widened in shock. "The Vrath have hunted my people for centuries. They destroyed my homeworld and many others." General Karath growled. "Why attack now? Why send the SOS?" The agent explained. "The Vrath have grown stronger. They are moving through the galaxy, consuming everything. Your small victory was just a moment in a long war you do not yet see." Blake felt the weight of the words. The enemy was far worse than they had imagined. "Tell us how to fight them," Blake demanded. The agent hesitated, then nodded. "The Vrath have a weakness. They cannot survive in strong energy fields, but their ships can mask these fields. They use stealth and fear." Lyra added, "We have old technology, weapons and shields designed to expose and destroy the Vrath, but we lack the numbers to use them." Blake looked at his commanders. "We need to combine our technology and fight smarter." The SOS was a warning, yes, but also a call for unity. The fleet began preparing new strategies. Engineers worked to adapt the alien technology to human and Deathworlder ships. Crews trained harder, learning to use the new weapons. Days later, a new threat appeared on the sensors. A massive Vrath fleet was moving toward a vital colony world, one that could be a stronghold for the Alliance. The fleet raced to intercept. This battle would be unlike any before. As the fleets met in space, the Vrath revealed their true power. Their ships moved like shadows, disappearing and reappearing. They fired strange weapons that drained energy and life from the ships. The combined fleet fought with everything they had. Human ingenuity, Deathworlder strength, and alien knowledge merged in deadly harmony. The Star Guardian fired the new energy, weapons. The shields flared, exposing Vrath ships. The enemy screamed as their ships exploded, but the Vrath adapted quickly, targeting the weakest points. One by one, ships were lost. In the chaos, Blake noticed a strange signal, a beacon, from deep inside the Vrath fleet. He ordered a small strike team to investigate. Lieutenant Chen led the group in a fast ship, slipping through enemy lines. Inside the Vrath flagship, they discovered a terrifying truth. The Vrath were controlled by a central intelligence, a dark mind that spread across their ships like a virus. Chen's team planted explosives and hacked the systems. The flagship began to collapse. As they escaped, Blake watched the explosion on the sensors. The flagship's destruction weakened the Vrath fleet, forcing them to retreat. Beck. On the Star Guardian, the Alliance leaders breathed a sigh of relief, but they knew the war was far from over. Lyra said quietly, "We have struck a blow, but the Vrath will return. Stronger. Smarter." Karath looked at Blake with respect. "Your people fight with heart and mind. Together, we may turn the tide." Blake nodded. "We answered the SOS. Now we fight for the galaxy, for all who want to live." Outside, the stars blinked cold and silent. The enemy lurked in the dark, but hope burned brighter than ever. The fleet was battered but still moving. The small victory against the Vrath flagship had given the Alliance a brief moment of hope. But Commander Blake knew it was only the calm before a greater storm. In the command room of the Star Guardian, the leaders gathered again. Humans, Deathworlders, and alien survivors stood side by side, their faces grim but determined. "The Vrath are regrouping," Lyra said, her voice low. "They will return with more ships, more power." General Karath slammed his fist on the table. "We need a plan, not just to fight but to end this war." Blake nodded. "We have the knowledge and the weapons, but we need to hit the enemy where it hurts the most, their homeworld." The idea was dangerous. The Vrath homeworld was deep in enemy space, heavily defended and unknown. But if they destroyed it, the Vrath might lose control over there. Fleet Lyra shared ancient star maps showing the way. "The path is treacherous, many have tried and failed. The Alliance prepared for the boldest mission yet." A strike team of humans, Deathworlders, and alien warriors would lead the attack. Blake chose Lieutenant Chen to lead the team. "You've shown courage and skill. This mission could change everything." Chen felt the weight of responsibility. "I won't let you down." The fleet moved cautiously toward the Vrath homeworld. Sensors picked up heavy defenses, shields, mines, and massive warships. The strike team entered a stealth ship, small and fast. They slipped past patrols, using new technology to hide from enemy scanners. As they approached the planet, the true horror became clear. The Vrath homeworld was a dark, twisted place, covered in shadow and strange energy fields that pulsed with life. The team landed on the surface and moved quickly through alien ruins and deadly forests. Strange creatures watched from the shadows, but did not attack. Chen led the team toward a massive fortress where the Vrath Central Intelligence was said to reside. Inside, the fortress was alive with dark energy. The walls seemed to pulse and whispers echoed in the air. The team faced traps and monsters, but they pushed forward. Chen felt the eyes of the enemy watching their every move. At last, they reached the core, a glowing black heart pulsing with terrible power. Chen planted explosives around the core. "We destroy this, the Vrath lose their control." Suddenly, the core reacted. Dark energy surged, and the fortress began to collapse. The team ran for their lives, dodging falling debris and energy blasts. Outside, the fleet engaged in a fierce battle to hold off the Vrath reinforcements. The Star Guardian led the fight, blasting enemy ships with all its might. Chen's team made it back to the ship, just as the fortress exploded in a brilliant light. The shockwave rippled through space. Vrath ships faltered, their control broken. The enemy fleet began to fall apart, retreating into the darkness. Back on the Star Guardian, Blake watched the retreat on the screens. "We did it. The turning point is here." Lyra smiled faintly. "The Vrath are wounded, but not defeated." Karath's voice was fierce. "Now we fight to finish this." The Alliance knew the war was not over, but hope burned brighter than ever. For the first time, the stars seemed less dark, and the future held a promise that together they could win. The fleet gathered near the edge of the galaxy, where the last Vrath ships were retreating. The silence was thick with tension. Commander Blake stood on the Star Guardian's bridge, eyes scanning the dark void ahead. "This is it," Blake said quietly. "The final battle." The Alliance was stronger now. Humans, Deathworlders, and alien survivors united like never before. They had fought hard and lost much, but their spirit had never broken. General Karath stood beside Blake, his massive form tense with readiness. "The Vrath won't give up easily. They fight with darkness and fear." Lyra nodded. "But we fight with hope and unity." The fleet formed a circle of power. The new energy weapons glowed, shields flared, and warships readied their guns. Suddenly, the Vrath fleet emerged from the shadows, more ships than ever before. Their black hulls seemed to swallow the light. They moved like a wave of darkness, ready to crush everything. The battle began with a roar. Lasers cut through space, explosions lit the void, and the sounds of war echoed through the ships. The Star Guardian led the charge, blasting the Vrath's forward line. Blake shouted orders, his voice calm but fierce. The enemy fought back with strange weapons that sapped energy and twisted minds. Some crews faltered, but the Alliance held strong. Lieutenant Chen led a daring squadron, breaking through enemy lines to target the Vrath command ships. The fight was brutal, Ships were torn apart, friends were lost, but no one gave up. Inside, the Star Guardian, Blake felt the weight of every life depending on him. He knew this battle would decide the future of the galaxy. As the battle raged, the Vrath unleashed their secret weapon, a massive energy storm that could destroy entire fleets. The Alliance scrambled to protect their ships, shields strained, and many fell under the storm's fury. Blake realized they had one chance. The new weapons designed to expose the Vrath's weakness, energy fields, had to be used now, all at once. He ordered every ship to fire the energy pulse. A bright wave spread through space, cutting through the storm and revealing the hidden Vrath ships. Exposed and vulnerable, the Vrath began to fall. The Alliance pressed the attack with all their strength. The flagship of the Vrath burned brightly. Before exploding into 1,000 pieces, the enemy fleet broke apart, scattering in defeat. Cheers echoed through the Alliance ships. The war was over. Back on the Star Guardian, Blake and the leaders watched the stars return to their calm glow. Lyra smiled. We answered the SOS with firepower and heart. Karath grunted. The galaxy is safer because of us. Blake nodded. The true power is not just in weapons, but in unity, in standing together against the darkness. As the fleet began its journey home, Blake looked out at the stars. The SOS had been a call for help, and the Deathworlders, humans and aliens, had answered with strength and courage. The galaxy was forever changed.